Hello everyone, how we doing? Zed here, and it's summer started. That was cool and stuff. I finished my exams. I was all happy and things, and yeah, I got Kid Icarus. That was cool. But I'm gonna bring you some more battles. I think hopefully I'll get a more keen schedule going now that I don't have as much stuff in my way to do. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with a game here today using the Chocolate Rain team. I guess by popular demand, Chocolate Rain was the favorite name. Nick also threw in a name, which was the Fellowship of the Frog, which I found rather comical, which I guess we could call it as well, but whatever. It's a team, it's two weather, two genie, you know what I'm talking about. But let's get into it. It's a standard match. So I lead off with Specs Politoed, and the thing that I love about Specs Politoed is that no one really ever predicts it. Most of the time, Politoed are bulky variants because you want to keep the rain up all the time as much as you can. But you know, with this team, it's slightly different just because I have Tyranitar and Politoed, so I have two weathers to be dealing with. So I prefer to go for a more offensive Politoed set. It dents a lot of things. Hydro Pump in the rain is powerful as shit, and you will see that later on in the game. So what happens here is I go for the Focus Blast, and then I switch out into my Landorus, predicting him to go to either his Landorus or to his Dragonite to take the Focus Blast. But he's actually staying in. He's going for the Protect, and now I'm thinking, okay, let's just go for an Earthquake. Maybe he'll switch into his Landorus or his Dragonite, predicting that, but he just goes for the Protect again, just to see either if I'm going to lock myself into something, or if I'm just going to go for the Earthquake straight out, whatever. And I go for the Earthquake, which is fine. But at this point, I predict him to go to Dragonite. And I'm sure he's going to do it, because I don't think he wants to take an Earthquake. So I go into Azumarill, because Azumarill can threaten Dragonite with Ice Punch. And so that's my thought process here. But he ends up staying in, just going for Leech Seed. And I'm like, this isn't good. I'm just kind of over-predicting a lot at the start of this game around this Ferrothorn. My opponent doesn't seem to be favorably wanting to switch out. So he's just, you know, he's really taken advantage of my poor predictions, my over-predictions, and his Ferrothorn is almost right back up to like over half into the green, which is not good at all. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'll just go to this guy, Tornadus. Hurricane will threaten whatever he wants to do. If he wants to switch, probably threaten whatever he switches in, and if he wants to stay in, then Ferrothorn is threatened as well by Hurricane, so it doesn't really matter. But he decides to switch on that turn as well, I guess, predicting a fighting move from Azumarill and going to Tentacruel, or even predicting an over-prediction with Waterfall. I don't know. Tentacruel works out for him, but it doesn't work out for him in the situation where I go for the Hurricane, because that does a fuck ton to especially defensive Tentacruel. Really does do a lot of damage, and as you can see, he is very defensive, carrying Rain Dish and lefties and all that jazz. But fortunately, I don't get burnt by the Scalds, so Tornadus is still good for another couple of Hurricanes here and there. I'm not sure whether I'll live a Stealth Rock switch in, so I'm not too worried about leaving Tornadus in to die, if I'm going to be particularly honest about it. You know, he's done a good job so far, so I'm not really too worried about anything like that. So his Tentacruel does get up to a respectable amount of HP, and he's going to switch back out. Go to a Dragonite, which makes the most sense, because it's the one thing on his team that can really take a Hurricane at this point and not risk getting 2-hit KO'd by it, simply because he has the multi-scale in activation. But the thing about this was I wasn't sure what type of Dragonite he was. I could have potentially switched out, and I'm not sure if I would have lived Stealth Rock switching. I don't think I would have done. But the best thing for me to do there was to gauge what kind of Dragonite he was, and seeing both Extreme Speed and seeing no recoil, I come to the judgment that he is most likely a Choice Banded Dragonite. So I've got that in the back of my mind, and the best thing for me to do here is to go into Tyranitar, because not only do I resist Extreme Speed, but it also gives me a nice footing to go for a T-Wave on whatever he wants to switch in to perhaps go up against T-Tar. But unfortunately, Ferrothorn's the one thing that comes in, and this Ferrothorn's really been giving me trouble throughout this match. I have ways of dealing with Ferrothorn, Politoed being the main one with the Specs Focus Blast, but it's just caused me a lot of trouble, just because I was doing too much prediction at the start of the game, and I don't really want to be, you know, doing predictions when I shouldn't be. But hey, that's what happens. That's the kind of guy I am. That's what I do. The really bad thing is I really power up his Gyro Ball by paralyzing him. The reason I stay in here with Tyranitar is simply because I didn't want to go to Politoed and have a Power Whip in my face instead of a Gyro Ball, so I decided to stay in with T-Tar and kind of gauge what was going on with Earthquake. Didn't really care for T-Tar much at this point. In my honest opinion, Rain is going to be more important in this game for me rather than Sand. So you know, I just decided to leave T-Tar to die. His Landorus comes in and is able to U-turn. I obviously can't tell at this point whether he's Scarf or anything else, because if he had lefties, then, you know, it wouldn't have shown because he's at full health, and if he was Scarfed, it wouldn't shown anyway, and he doesn't have Life Orb. But I can't really tell what Landorus it is. Could be Banded, could be Scarf, could be anything. So I gotta just kind of keep that in the back of my mind. But he brings in Terrakion, and I think the best thing to go to is my Politoed. Even if it is a Banded Terrakion, I'm not sure as to, well, it probably would kill me, but I guess he's a bit afraid as to whether he would or would not, and the safest thing for him to do is to go to something like Tentacruel, something like Ferrothorn, and to just sponge the hit. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't realise how powerful Specs Hydro Pump is, and that's actually going to take the Tentacruel clean out. Ferrothorn, I know, will probably be able to live one, but I'm just going to go for it anyway. I know it'll be a 2-hit KO, and maybe he'll get paralysed, maybe Power Whip won't kill me, anything could happen, but anything does happen, and I land a critical hit on the Ferrothorn, so that's very nice. Cleans that thing out my way, I don't have to worry about it for later, and now he goes into Dragonite, and this is probably one of the more poor plays he makes. He goes for the Extreme Speed instead of the Stab Outrage, which, being probably a Banded Dragonite, he would have most likely been able to take me out with an Outrage, and as you can see, Extreme Speed really does nothing. But Specs Politoed just kicking ass and just going through all the things. That's a half-health Dragonite resisting the Hydro Pump, but I still managed to kill it. Like, this thing's great. I love Specs Politoed. People should use it more often. Very underrated threat. But there you go. It's going to come to an end. Unfortunately, Terrakion's going to be able to come in, go for the close combat. And something that is beneficial for me, that he locked himself into close combat, because I can safely go into Landorus now and threaten him out with the Earthquake. However, knowing that he has a Landorus on his team, I'm going to predict him to go to his Landorus to dodge my Earthquake, and therefore instead go for the Hidden Power Rise. But instead of doing that, he goes to his Volcarona, so that really doesn't work out for me in the end. Volcarona doesn't make much sense as a switch-in because Earthquake was kind of the obvious play, and I'm pretty sure that Earthquake would have 2-hit KO'd the Volcarona, so it was a bit of a risky play on his part, but maybe he did predict me to predict Landorus, so it would have worked out in that way anyway. But at this point, I know that he's going to take advantage of the situation. I am Scarf locked into Hidden Power Rise, so it gives him a free window to set up a Quiver Dance, which in general isn't a good idea if you have an opponent who carries priority Aqua Jet, which is exactly what I do. Volcarona isn't really a threat to this team. Just because I have Azumarill and I have Rain and I have Politoed, you know, Volcarona can't really do much when you have Rain boosted Aqua Jet on your side. That's exactly what I do have. I was a little bit skeptical as to whether this would kill, just because I'm not choice banded. I'm just a leftovers variant, but hey, apparently Volcarona's defenses aren't too great, and I'm able to take the thing out with an Aqua Jet without any trouble whatsoever, so that's really fantastic. Puts me in a strong position because he has Landorus and Terrakion left, both of which are very weak to water, and both of which Azumarill can outspeed with Aqua Jet and most likely kill. So in comes Terrakion. I'm going to go for the Aqua Jet. And expecting this to take this thing out because Volcarona died, Terrakion seems to have a bit more endurance than its counterpart, and is able to live the Aqua Jet, which kind of surprised me a little bit. And he does confirm my suspicions of him being a choice banded set here, as he's able to take me out with the close combat. I'm pretty certain that Azumarill, being the bulky beast that it is, could have been able to live a Scarf close combat, but alas, it is not able to live a choice banded one. The good thing, however, is that my last is Landorus, and Landorus has the Hidden Power Ice at his disposal. I'm going to be able to go for that, take him out because the defense drop, special defense drop anyway, and his final guy is his Landorus, so it all depends whether on if he's a Scarf variant or if I win a speed tie or whatever. And in the end, it turned out that he was actually running an Expert Belt Landorus, which is kind of a cool idea. I guess it's probably more seen on PO than on Wi-Fi, but it's a cool set. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out for him here because I'm going to be able to use my choice Scarf to outspeed him, kick his ass with a Hidden Power Ice, and take the game. So there you go. It was a pretty close one. It's nice to have some OU once in a while. You know, predictions are usually abundant in OU, whether they be over predictions and poor plays or even just you know, mind games in general. So it's good to have that every once in a while. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you can leave a like on the video below. If you didn't, then hey, shout at me or something. I'll see you guys next time on the video of my things. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.